Welcome to the LCTV Show, a program that highlights organizations in the Lynn community. Today we have a very special guest on our program. Today we have the Fire Chief, Chief McDonald, who for 40 years has been serving the Lynn community and for the past 5 years has been the Lynn Fire Chief. So we're going to speak to him, talk fire safety drills and things to keep the citizens of Lynn safe. How are you doing today, Chief?
Very good, very good.
So how's everything been going for you?
It's been a busy week, but it's also been a busy 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can reach that peak. How does it feel?
Some think I'm crazy,
Yeah.
but it's too late now.
Yeah. Also, it's 40 years of doing something you love, so you know that's something that you're very proud of.
It's been my life for my whole adult life, so it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Without it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, retiring just in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it's the last straw.
That's it. On the back nine.
Hope to get to like you one day. You know.
You'll get there.
All right, so we got a lot to discuss today. A lot about fire safety. So I'm glad you came and took the time to sit with me today, so we could discuss this. First, can you just give us an overview of the department in the past year?
Okay. Lynn Fire Department has about 170 members, firefighters. We handle all the fire prevention activities, fire investigation activities, and the fire suppression activities in the city. We have 6 firehouses, 6 engine companies, 3 ladder companies. We have a medic unit. We handle all the EMS in the city. Mm-hmm. We have a contractor that backs us up for our basic life support and our ALS, advanced life support. That's the Atlantic Ambulance. And so we handle all the budget issues with fire and stuff like that with the City Hall, and we have a close relationship with all the interaction with a lot of the other departments in the city too, the police, DPW, and the school department.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys all work together. I know you guys do a lot of fire safety teachings to the community. I went to the event at KIPP Academy during the summer, and there was a firefighter there. He had a poster board on display just teaching fire safety. How important do you guys value that in getting the citizens to know just fire safety drills so they could prevent fire?
Reaching kids while they're in school, while they're young, and giving them a good base of fire safety as they age and grow older. Mm-hmm. We're in the schools with them for a number of years, from kindergarten up through junior high school, so the educational level changes with their age. Mm-hmm. As they get older, we get a little bit more involved. So that carries on to their adult life. So they become a safer citizen. Mm-hmm. And they deliver a lot of that information that we give them in school, they take it home. And their parents learn from them. Yeah. So the whole community becomes a little bit safer if they follow the information that we're giving them. Mm-hmm. And we have seen a drop in our activities as far as careless fire safety goes. So with the evolution of smoke detectors, and we educate them on how smoke detectors should be installed and where, and how important it is to keep them active. Mm-hmm. You know, change the batteries, change your clock, change your battery type initiatives that we do every year. And and we're in this. So we meet the kids in the school very young, and we follow them through for a number of years until they get a good base of fire education, and that's with cooperation of the school department that allows us to go in there, and it actually has become almost a part of their curriculum.
That's definitely great. And how often should they be checking their smoke detectors, and should they be changing them?
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to check them as often as as you feel or need, or you'd like to, but we profess that every time that you turn the clock back or forward, you check your smoke detectors. So that's once in the springtime and once in the fall, the end of the fall. And change the batteries is necessary, but a lot of the newer smoke detector technology comes with a 10-year life battery. Okay. So once the battery is, and once the smoke detector is inoperative, you have to replace the whole smoke detector. Okay. So the changing of the battery thing is starting to wane out over a period of a decade. Okay. So everything's going to be self-contained 10-year batteries, and you won't have to change them as often.
And you also have to clean them ever so often,
Yeah,
correct?
it would be good to just run the vacuum cleaner up over them, get the dust off them, because the dust collects on the sensors and sometimes gives a false alarm.
Okay.
But we do check those out just like it's a serious situation. We don't take anything for granted. And you shouldn't take anything for granted if they're going off and just decide that this is a false alarm. That's for us to decide. We'll come out. We have no problem coming out and just taking a look around, make sure everything's as it should be, and if it's a false alarm, it's a false alarm.
Now, also with fire safety, you sent over a drive that showed that having a home safety plan is also very important for families in case of a fire.
Right. We teach with the younger children. That's part of the early education in the schools. Is an exit program, and to get the whole family involved, to don't delay, immediately get out of the house and call for help. Don't linger in the building, because that's when if you have a fire, you could get yourself in serious trouble.
Yeah.
So we profess that you get out of the building and then make the call, and don't try to take care of the issue yourself. That's what we're here for, and we're glad to do it.
Yeah, and families, if they want to know how to handle it, they should practice their own fire drill, just a practice session, have the fire alarm goes off, and practice the plan.
Right.
So in case it really happens, this is what they should do.
Every time you practice, you're almost ingraining it in yourself that you're going to automatically respond if there's an emergency. The more you practice, the more it becomes second nature, and you don't have to think about which door am I supposed to go out, where am I supposed to meet everybody when I get out, who should I call. If you practice that all the time, you're just going to do it. It's more automatic than reflexive.
Yeah, just like in the education system, in the schools, I know schools, when I was in school, at least maybe once every month, there'll be a fire drill just in case something happens. Now, do you guys do that as well with maybe like professional buildings, like people in bigger offices?
Yeah, we're mandated by law to do the schools 4 times a year. But the schools also have a program within, an internal program with their teachers who can do it as often as they'd like. Or the school principal might have an issue that he wants to take care of, so he'll have a fire drill on his own, which they have every right to do. But we do rooming houses, hospitals and medical care buildings, and we have to do those on a steady basis. But we encourage commercial buildings, big corporations, the GE, for instance, Westland Creamery, to have a plan, and they have an emergency evacuation plan that they institute themselves. Yeah. That mirrors what we do.
Yeah, I would imagine the hospitals, they definitely would need to, because maybe they have some residents who are wheelchairs,
right,
and things of that nature. So they have to practice that just so they can be able to get those residents out first.
And a lot of times they'll protect in place. They'll just move the patient to a different section of the building and leave them in the building because of the difficulty in getting them out. So they'll find a refuge in the building while we're dealing with the event and the other, wherever it may be.
All right, that's definitely. Now that we have, this time of the year we get a lot of storms. This big snowstorm we just had, a lot of fire hydrants in the streets may be covered and can't be seen. You guys urge residents to clear those hydrants for firefighters.
We're not afraid to ask for help when we need it, just like people aren't afraid to ask us for help when they need it. And in this time of the year when the snow really piles up, we go out. Every engine company and ladder company in the city has a section of the city that they have to do. They own the hydrants, so they go out and do that section so that they all get done. Some may get overlooked, or some may get recovered with snow. Yeah. So we ask the residents who are in the neighborhoods, if they see a hydrant in the neighborhood, to shovel it out for us, because they're only helping themselves. Yeah. If we have to go there and hook up to that hydrant that we can't see and we have to dig out, time is of the essence. And if you need us at your home to hook up to that hydrant, it would be to your advantage to help us do that
because
ahead of time.
The time you guys are wasting clearing the hydrant,
you could be doing something that's a little bit more important.
Yeah, definitely. And also, how does the department handle big snowstorms like the one we just recently had? How do you guys take precaution with that?
Well, we don't change our tactics or our manpower that much. We practice what we do all the time, so we get really good at it. Just like fire drills, we practice all the time on our tactics and our procedures, so that when something happens, it just automatic. It's like muscle memory, and the snow slows you down. So the more adept you are at what you're supposed to do, if it slows you down, you can still recover if that time loss.
Yeah.
So we really don't change too much, except for the hydrants and the walkways and things, and access to buildings. And we profess that. We ask for help, make sure your emergency exits are open. Make sure we can get to your front door, you know, for egress and entry. And it's the only real effect that a snowstorm has, it just slows you down.
Yeah. Especially
it slows everybody. It slows everything down.
Especially trying to maneuver through the city.
Yeah.
In case of emergency, you got all the snow on the
it
ground.
takes a little longer to get there. It takes a little longer to get set up. It takes a little longer for us to get from the truck to the building because of the obstacle of the snow and things like that. So the less there is around the emergency part of the building, the better.
Yeah, and I know with the snow, there's so much snow on the ground. I know it's probably difficult for the driver just to move around.
Yeah, we have to be a little bit more cautious because the snowbanks are high. People walk out between snowbanks and in between cars, so it's a dangerous time when you're in an emergency mode.
Yeah, and also with the storm, I see that a lot of potholes appear at the storms. I know the driver even has to be even more cautious because of that.
Yep, and that's the nature of the area we live in too. It's a constant issue that we have to deal with, and I think that if you're here long enough, you're used to it. You don't even notice them sometimes.
Yeah, I know. So for homeowners, they also have to take a lot of caution in getting prepared for fire safety. I know having a chimney, that's something that they need to have cleaned as often as they can.
Yeah, this is the time of year when we have issues with heating problems. A lot of people have wood stoves or fireplaces, and they get a little lax about maintenance, and having the chimney cleaned is a very important issue. It should be done professionally. It doesn't have to be done every year. It should be done every couple of years, depending on how often you use the appliance. But that's a lesser of a problem than the room space heaters, the electric space heaters.
Okay.
We have a problem with people who they're not being careless, they just use it carelessly. They're too close to common combustibles. They'll put it too close to furniture, too close to bedding or clothing. They should have a 3-foot area around a space heater to common combustibles, a wall. You can't put them against the wall. They should be out away from the wall a little bit. So a common problem with those is that they're just used improperly. They're good equipment, as long as they're used the way they're supposed to be used.
And the thing about space heaters that I didn't know, so from 2016, 7 civilian deaths, 27 civilian injuries, and 27 fire service injuries have all been caused from space heaters. That's a stat I didn't even know.
Yeah, and it's a heating element. It's an ignition source, and if it's too close to things that burn, it's going to happen. And sometimes they'll put the heater on, people will put the heater on in a room and walk away, go do something else, and without knowing that they left it too close to something, they come back and something's burning.
And especially if they have it on too high.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you use it the way it's supposed to be used, the way the instructions tell you to use it, but you have to keep that clearance.
So, everybody, make sure you keep your space heaters away from things that can start fire. Fire chief said it, not me. Also up to note with stovetop, that's another thing that you're
Cooking fires are probably one of the most common causes of death in the country. People get a little careless around. It's such a common appliance that people don't really equate it as to being dangerous because they use it so often. But if they get careless around it, or if they ignore it, a lot of our problems begin when people will start something cooking and leave the room. And
definitely.
sometimes they'll fall asleep or they get sidetracked and get involved in something else and forgot about what they were doing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the fire spreads very quickly with a stove because you have a live ignition source, whether it's a gas open flame or an electrical element. It's a live heat source, so it's going to continue to burn, and the fire grows every minute. A fire gets 4 times bigger every minute that it's burning.
And these stovetops, they have to be approved by the national testing agencies?
Yeah, but the manufacturer, the dealers of stoves can't sell one that's not approved. So when you go to an appliance store to buy an appliance, a stove, they'll only sell ones that are approved.
Okay. Yeah. And also with stoves, though, you know, you got the stove and you got the oven. When people leave the oven on, I've heard that can cause carbon monoxide.
Yeah, the people will have a heating issue, so they'll open the oven a little bit, put the oven on for some heat. That causes a carbon monoxide issue if the stove isn't clean or burning properly. It's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
If you have a heating issue, your concern should be to fix your heating system, not use an alternative source that isn't as safe.
And carbon monoxide, this is one thing that, you know, it's like the silent killer, as people say. And people are not aware of the dangers of having the stove, leaving the oven on, and having carbon monoxide or detecting that it's even in your home.
Right.
And now, as you said, you spoke to me earlier, you said they're now having carbon monoxide detectors that's combined with the smoke detectors.
They're integrated with smoke detectors. And that's becoming the qualification. You have to, when you install smoke detectors now, they have to have a carbon monoxide detector integrated into it. So over the the course of time, that's all you're going to see. You're going to see 10-year battery, sealed batteries. They're going to be smoke detectors with a carbon monoxide detector integrated.
Okay, and you know that the carbon monoxide detector is working when the sound goes off. There's like a
you'll get a
sound.
test chirp every so often. Sometimes that's just a trouble signal that the element is fouled or dirty, and it has to be either replaced or cleaned. You really can't scrub clean carbon monoxide detector. You can use the same process as the smoke detector. Use a vacuum, get the dust out as much as it can. If it continues to chirp, it should be replaced.
And also, if it goes off and the carbon monoxide is how they have to leave the house immediately, correct?
If your carbon monoxide goes off, you should be making a phone call to us for us to come, and you should be exiting the home. We have electronic meters that we can read carbon monoxide levels with. We'll come in and test it with the meter. Sometimes those detectors will alarm, and we go by the meter. If the meter says it's below the threshold, then the detector should be replaced.
Okay, and that's another thing. It should be how often should that be replaced? How many years?
They should probably. I think there's a shelf life that would be on the box when you purchase one. I think it's 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
The 10-year sealed battery for the smoke detector kind of indicates how long they're going to last.
Okay. So yeah, if you have
depending on how toxic your atmosphere may be. You know, if this carbon monoxide detector gets loaded up with carbon monoxide over time, then it's not going to last 10 years.
Yeah. All right. Another fire safety tip. Check those carbon monoxide detectors. Get them changed, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your family safe. So, as we're going to change subject, so you guys are continually doing a lot of work to fight the opioid crisis.
Yeah,
you guys are out there along, I'm sure, with the Lynn Police, trying to help and solve this problem.
Yeah, we work hand in hand with the Lynn Police. We have a grant that we use to purchase naloxone for overdoses. So our medic unit, along with Atlantic Ambulance, we must do dozens of calls a week, overdose calls. Not necessarily ones that we deliver Narcan to, patients that we deliver Narcan to, the people who have an overdose. So it's become a really widespread issue. We spend a lot of time and runs on medical aids that are oxy related overdoses. And the police have a program that our patients get referred to for intervention beyond the event. When they go to the hospital, all their information is taken, and the police reach out to that person to try to get them back on the right track. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we do an abundance of oxy calls monthly, yearly. It's been really busy.
Now, in all your years in the department, have you ever seen anything like this?
There's really been a spike because there's so many drugs out there beyond heroin that cause this problem that are used for rehabilitation of an injury. So people just over-medicate themselves or by accidentally or intentionally. So it's not just a heroin issue, but it's the byproduct of that oxy product that we're having a problem with.
Yeah, and the surge of this, what would you say, when would you say it began?
Well, heroin's been around for a long time. The overdose issue, probably about the last 5 to 7 years, we've seen a spike, and it's gotten to a high range in the last year or two.
Yeah, and I remember I read an article like the North Shore is like one of the areas where it's really hit the hardest.
Yeah, it has. It has most of the cities, you know, the metro city areas in the Commonwealth are the ones that are having the most issues.
Yeah.
But I've seen reports and heard literature. I've read literature that the problem is actually starting to wane.
Okay.
I'd like to see it go a little faster. I'm not convinced. But you know, the hospitals report that their incidents are getting lower, and I hope that's true.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully it gets lower, because that's just something that we have to not deal with as a
something
society.
that's beyond the human's control. You know, so I do too.
Yeah, I know. Now before we end this, now you guys, last year, as you informed that you guys had to deal with a brownout.
Yeah, we had a budget issue in the spring last year, around April, where we didn't have enough funding to keep everything open during vacation periods and people who were out injured and things like that. We had to hire overtime to keep those companies in service, the engines and the ladders in service. When we lost some funding, we had to, on a daily basis, if we didn't have enough manpower for the day, we'd take one of those engines or ladders out of service for the day. We call them brownouts. So that lasted about between 8 and 10 weeks.
Okay.
And then we had an influx of funding to put everything back in service. So for just about the last 7 or 8 months, we've been back to normal with 6 engine companies, 3 ladder companies, and a medic truck in service every day.
All right, that's it. And now, are you guys currently or in the future going to hire more firefighters?
And that was part of the budget problem. The former administration started a hiring freeze to try to save money. And most of our money is spent on salaries, so that was the first place that had to be cut. So we haven't hired a new firefighter in a couple of years.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we've had people retire, so we're starting to lose. Our numbers went down like 22 employees. So in the not too distant future, we're going to have to start replenishing through civil service new hires.
All right.
So that we anticipate sometime this coming spring to start hiring again.
All right. That'll be great. And with the hiring process, just for me to understand, how does that go with firefighters? Where do you guys find them? Go out to search for them?
We go through the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission. They run a entry exam every 2 years. There'll be one this year. I encourage anybody out there who has any interest to become a firefighter to take that exam.
Do you know the date for that?
It is in March, and the best place to get that information would be at the personnel office at Lynn City Hall.
Okay.
They have the flyer from. They have all the paper information from Civil Service on that.
Okay.
And I encourage everybody who has any interest to take that exam to do so. But to answer your question, they have a civil service exam, they establish a list, and when we call for 10 firefighters, they'll send us the list of 10 firefighters that are there. We do an interview process, background checks, and then send the candidate to the State Fire Academy for 9 weeks.
Okay.
And then they come back to us and we put them to work.
All right, awesome.
That's the short story.
That's the story. Well, that's a perfect way to end this great interview we just had. Thank you very much for all that information that you just gave us. You definitely educated me as well on some of the stuff that I didn't know.
Thank you very much for having me.
And if the people want to know more or learn more about fire safety, where could they go?
They could call the Lynn Fire Department, 781-593-1234, and they could ask for the Fire Prevention Division, and they'll give them every bit of information that they request or ask for.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
We had Chief James McDonald, 40 years as a Lynn firefighter. He's retiring in a few weeks. He's going to enjoy the good life after this. So
It's been a good life for 40, too. So.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you for being here. You've been watching the Lynn LCTV Show. I've been your host, Mukala Kabongo. Please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Lynn Community TV. And please check out our website, www.linntv.org. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you when we see you.